Flash and back and forth time travel with Legends. So I'd like to know, which series would you love to see yourself as Sin back on?
I definitely want to go to the Flash. And that was my first thought when Sin kind of disappeared again, was maybe she went to Central City. That would be so much fun. Love to be on the Flash.
Thank you.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, I'm Laurie, and I'm from Cumming, Georgia. And my question is for all four of you, and it was, what's one of your favorite memories from filming Arrow?
I guess I'll start. There's so many, and I could choose any one of the millions, the few episodes that I've done. But I think that I'm not going to spoil anything. The wedding episode, if you haven't seen it, catch up. Again, what I was saying about Emily, we kind of got to set and we had rehearsed it and we had, read the script and hit our marks. And then something happened when the cameras turned on and Emily and I were making eye contact and connecting in a way that I can't really put into words. There was something magical that happened that day, and I think that it took the scene and the story to an emotional place that neither of us were expecting. And after we did our first take, they had us run the whole sequence through without cutting up the different pieces. And everybody was in tears. The camera op, the producers came onto set. It just was this very cathartic, emotional thing that I think took on a life that we didn't plan for. And so as an actor, whenever something like that happens, when you allow yourself to be surprised and you're surrounded by a supportive cast and crew that are on that journey with you, that's a really big gift and a rare opportunity. So I think that that day in particular will always be one that I cherish.
For me, that was a real fun moment on set this season. Just from episode 2, and Rick Gonzalez, Madison McLaughlin, and myself were in the scene with Stephen and Emily, and the coverage was on Stephen and Emily because they had lines that were just kind of in the background, kind of just talking to each other, but not on camera. And then Rick, in character, looks at Madison and I dead serious, and he's like, "We're on a TV show, man." and Madison and I were still in character too. We're just like, this dude was insane. What are you talking? Wow, dog, shut up. But it was such a fun, real moment in character. He's like, there's cameras all around us, man. And we're just like, whatever. But it was just so meta and funny and real and so within his character. His character would totally say something like that, and it was just, we still laugh about that today. Just crack up. That was just a real fun moment I had with you.
I think my favorite moment was we were doing the hospital scene, walking through the hospital after Roy beat up the guy, and I think that was the first time Willa called me Dex instead of Sin. And I think that was the first time anyone had ever accidentally called me by my real name, and I lost it. I just could not recover.
My favorite moment last year was when Mark Guggenheim, wasn't actually on set, it was when Mark Guggenheim called me and says, we're going to introduce a wife for Damien Dark. I was like, all right, awesome. And he said, would you mind if we use your wife's name as your wife on the show, Reve? Who here has met my wife, Reve? She's just the most amazing woman of all time. When Mark said my wife's name on the show is going to be Reve, it was literally, for me, it was like, one of the coolest moments, and I got emotional about it that he went and did that for me. So, hanging out on the set with my wife last year and calling her Reve, which is kind of like a cool thing, and my kids watching, like, Dad, that's awesome. So, it wasn't so much on the set. Yeah, my superpowers were great. Yeah, hanging out with these guys, but when he gave me that to me was just an awesome day.
Cool. We're gonna get to a few more questions in just a second, but something we like to do at Heroes and Villains Fan Fest is celebrate birthdays. And Bex, your birthday has passed since the last time you were at one of these conventions, they let me know. So we're gonna celebrate it today. Everybody here, we're gonna sing happy birthday. We got cupcakes. Cupcakes with her face on
the
them.
cupcake.
It's like sort of cupcake cannibalism, but we'll allow it.
I'm okay with it.
Let's sing happy birthday, guys, shall we? All right, 2, 3, go.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Bess.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everybody. You guys have to look at those cupcakes. Those are so cool.
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
How old are you? Harley Quinn, what's going on?
Hi, I'm Annabeth. I'm from Forsyth, Georgia, and I have 2 questions. The first question is for everyone. What's your favorite episode of the era? And the second question is just for the girls. I want to be an actress when I grow up. Is it awkward doing kissing scenes?
I feel like we should just address that right now.
The acting teacher, let's go.
Going into it, yes. I'm always nervous. I always, don't sleep the night before and think of the million awkward things that could happen. But in all honesty, it is so technical once you're on set. There are hundreds of people around and lights and wires and microphones and costume to worry about that you almost forget that what you're doing is intimate at all. And it just becomes about the scene and about your scene partner and all the technical details. Usually I feel like the first time is a little bit scary. You kind of get those butterflies, and then once you've done it once, you're like, all right, kiss me again. So no, it's actually surprisingly not awkward, I think.
Especially when you have a scene partner you're comfortable with, because I've had a variety of people who've been very uncomfortable with it, and people who've been very comfortable with it, and it's always better to have someone who you have a good relationship with. You can actually talk about it and talk about what you're comfortable with, what everything, kind of get it all out in the open.
Yeah, and something that I absolutely agree. Something that I learned early on too was if you are ever in a position where you're doing something that you feel is a little bit more vulnerable or you're maybe nervous about, you can always ask that the set be closed, and that means that the only people in the room when you're filming are people who absolutely have to be there. And so sometimes taking the audience away gives you a little bit more freedom and comfort. So yeah, never be afraid to ask for what you need.
And brush your teeth that morning.
That's optional. It depends how much you like your co-star.
I always like a really good garlic bagel.
That's a little everything bagel to start the day.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the first part of that question?
What is your favorite episode from the era?
For me, it was season 2, I think the penultimate episode when Slade Moira.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Hey, if you haven't seen season 2, come on. But yeah, that episode hit me so freaking hard. It was just like, oh my god, it was just so badass, and that was definitely my favorite.
I like the episode in season 3 where we take down Brickhead. Mostly because I got to hit people with a bat.
All right, Negan. Anyone else? Favorite episode?
My favorite episode was the first one I did last year with Steven. Our first fight scene where I finally got to use my powers and throw them all over the place I was like, man, this is the first episode. I got 22 to go, 23 to go. We're gonna have so much fun this year. But it was such a great time for me, and Steven is, like I said before, Steven's amazing. Going back to kissing scenes, being a devout Catholic, I won't do them. So everyone asked me, why do you play so many villains? And I said, well, I love acting. I want to have a career in acting. What can I do? And so it's being a villain, because no one ever wants to kiss the villain, obviously, which is good. So, yeah, so I've never been comfortable with that stuff. If you are comfortable with it, that's great. It's just not my cup of tea. So that's something for me that I've never planned on doing it and don't plan on doing it in the future, but that's just me.
I also think I'll add to that, knowing yourself is super important. And knowing what you're comfortable with and what you're willing to and not to do. I personally feel like if there is an artistic reason that really drives the story, then I am comfortable with it. If it is just for the sake of seeing some action on screen, that's not something that I personally am down for. Ditto.
Good question. Hey, what's